This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and the following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Buffone. A certain magic will always linger with the very name. It speaks of courage and fervor and the world's most brutal game. 55, worn by Doug Bufone, a Chicago Bear through and through. He demanded excellence of himself and anyone wearing navy blue.
You tell me what's going on. This is moronic. We're going to get our whipped all the way down the line. I want somebody to get kicked in the and get out there and play. You're getting paid to play this game. I'm playing right. I don't mind you getting beat. I got my whipped many times. But I tell you, I took somebody down with me. You are a professional team. Act like one, for God's sakes.
Football fans, this is Buffone 55, the John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Buffone 55, the fastest-paced 30-minute Chicago Bears podcast available. I am your host, John Buffone. Barflies, 1-1, and the fun has just begun. How about that defense? Your Chicago Bears are back to 500, and we're seeing a team that reminds me a lot of those mid-2000s Bears, but is that necessarily a good thing? We'll hit on that a little bit later. Clearly, I am pumped up. In Buffone 55, we had to go deep to the bullpen this time. My old producer, Aldo Gondia, coming. We had to dust him off the shelf. Aldo, how you doing? And do you remember how to do this?
I'm not sure I remember how. I'll tell you what happened. I was having a martini lunch, and before I was about to order the second martini, the phone rang, and it was Bears Girl saying, "I can't go today. My voice is gone." So that's why I'm here and why I'm only one martini in for today.
Always the epitome of inebriation. Thanks for being on and filling in for us, Aldo. Hey, we got a great guest tonight. Joining us tonight is someone who's familiar with the Barflies here at Bears Barroom, Paige Dimakos, also known as Petty Paige, who covers fantasy football for TD Fantasy and Scout Fantasy. She also works with Draft Network LLC and is the co-host of the Petty Paige and the Cold Taker podcast. Paige, thanks for being on with us tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and you know why. I got great news about my brother.
Yeah.
Who's been fighting some crazy illnesses over the last few years. So that we're sitting sky high, and we asked for a Bears victory post surgery, and we got one. So the Bears are sitting in a good spot. We're sitting in a good spot, and hopefully the Diamondbacks lose again tonight to the Cubs, and the Cubs can continue their streaking as well.
Well, I just want to say from everybody here at Bears Barroom, we are pulling for you and your family, and I think I speak for everyone to say that was some great news that we got today. So we're all happy for you.
Thank you, and our teams can make it better by getting victories in the desert this week. So that's all we ask for.
Absolutely. I want to go back in memory lane real quick. 1 week in one sentence. Can you describe for us your reaction to that Bears win against Seattle? It was it seemed like it was in hand, then it wasn't in hand, and then it was in hand again. So if you could describe that for us real quick, what do you think?
Yeah, Russell Wilson running for his life. It was beautiful to see Khalil Mack again continue his dominance, and I would say you can tell it was a different player in the first half of that Packers game that he was in the second half because he just wasn't in game shape. So it was nice to see him go a little bit longer. And I think as the season progresses, obviously he's just going to be able to terrorize for 4 quarters. And man, that's a beautiful thing to hear and see when you're a Bears fan.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all pumped up. Now, listeners might be wondering why we'd have you on tonight, given you are a huge Bears fan. But since you happen to live in the deserts of Arizona, we are looking at you to give us a peek into enemy territory as we preview Sunday's matchup between our Bears and the Arizona Cardinals. Let's jump right into it. Recent reports have the Cardinals dead last in power rankings behind the Browns and the lowly Buffalo Bills. They are currently 0-2 and have been outscored 58-6, having been blown out 34-0 by the Rams on Sunday. What would you say is the number one problem for this team, and how or can they fix it?
They changed their defensive scheme. I think that's the biggest part of this. This defense looks lost. A lot of the same playmakers are out there. Dan Buchanan, Patrick Peterson. They've got Buda Baker. They've got Chandler Jones. I mean, they have a lot of talented guys on defense. And for a defensive touted guy in Steve Wilks, he took what James Betcher and Todd Bowles did so well. I mean, they were a top 7 defense the entirety of Bruce Arians' career. And now, in the year 1 of the new regime, they took what was not broken and broke it. And I think that's the biggest issue you're looking at here is this team is not strong on the offensive side of the football. And you have a guy like David Johnson. You need to run the football. You need to play really, really good defense, much like we talk about with the Chicago Bears. And the recipe for success is just not there. And listen, Sam Bradford has had success when he's been healthy, but this is just he looks lost. This offense looks lost. And there's been reports this week now they're going to put less offense out there, and Sam Bradford didn't seem happy about it when he spoke at practice today. So I think the team all in all is a little bit lost, and I don't see this team getting back on track unless something drastic changes.
You talked about Sam Bradford. Speaking of which, he signed a 1-year, $20 million deal earlier this year. Back in May, he was seen as a sneaky high potential short-term signing for the Cardinals. Maybe kind of that plug-and-play they saw with Carson Palmer not too long ago. He was ranked number 12 on NFL's.com's top 101 free agents of 2018. First-year head coach Steve Wilks suggested some personnel moves could be coming, but one position that will not change is quarterback. He will not be replacing him with rookie Josh Rosen. This decision is getting some negative reaction and a bit of bewilderment from the Arizona Cardinals fans. Is Bradford still in line to be that short-term savior? Is he the equivalent to Mike Glennon last year for the Bears? By the way, the Cardinals had their own shot at Mike Glennon this year. Apparently, they didn't want him either. But what's kind of the outlook on Sam Bradford right now?
Yeah, I think the reality is for Cardinal fans, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this because I covered the team for such a long time from Cardinal fans, is Josh Rosen doesn't fix this problem. This is a 3 phases of the game problem. This is every single facet of the game is not being played well. They look unprepared and horribly coached, and this is something different. It's not, you're not going to fix this with putting a rookie out there. And I'm telling you right now, Josh Rosen doesn't like getting hit. We know that from his college days. So they better fix up that offensive line. And as much as I'd like to take a shot at Sam Bradford, it doesn't fall on Bradford's shoulders. This is the whole team. This is the entirety of the coaching staff. And they got to get it fixed and they got to get it right. And listen, if they continue, I don't know if you saw this, but the Vegas odds went from Steve Wilks wasn't even in the conversation. He wasn't even in the top 16 of guys that could get fired. He's now the 3rd most likely guy to get fired in Vegas, which I think is very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I wouldn't be doing my job unless I asked you a fantasy question. A lot of people in the top 5, top 3, even some top overall picks went with David Johnson this year, coming off of an injury, and the guy can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he signs an extension, he's got to be you'd think he'd be in the right frame of mind. If you're a fantasy owner with David Johnson, are you already mashing the panic button? Are you trying to sell?
Here's the problem. You should have been listening to my podcast because I told you and I warned you that I love David Johnson. This is not a criticism of David Johnson. This offensive line is not good, and they are 1 injury away from being catastrophically bad. And that is a big problem when you're talking about a team. They know they don't have offensive weapons. I love Larry Fitzgerald, but Larry Fitzgerald's the best wide receiver you have, and he's 35 years old. That's a huge problem. They're not passing the ball well, which means every defense loads the box and they know what's coming. David Johnson, and they're not getting creative with him like Bruce Arians did. You have to understand the success you saw was creativity on offense with Bruce Arians and company that you're not seeing right now with Mike McCoy and Steve Wilks. Is that going to change? Maybe. I don't think so. David's still going to end up being a top 12, top 15 back. He's just not going to be top 5. And I warned people going into the season that was going to be the case because this team is not going to be good and they're going to be down in a lot of games and they're not going to run the football. And that's a big problem if you're a David Johnson owner.
Obviously, you talked about Mike McCoy. He's getting some heat about his apparent inability to devise a decent game plan. Paige, that offense has been virtually non-existent, having mustered up just 213 yards in their 24-6 loss to Washington and failing to even cross midfield until late in the game against the LA Rams. Many are saying the biggest disappointment thus far has been David Johnson, but is this not really his fault? Does this have something to do with the way that the offensive line is not gelling, or the fact that you said everybody knows what's coming, so they're putting 8 and 9 to the box? Take me to the root of this. Is it in the offensive line? What's going on there?
I think it's a couple of things, but it's definitely not David Johnson's fault. David Johnson's an unbelievable athlete. He's got great work ethic. He comes to play each and every day. This has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the fact there's no offensive creativity. I don't know what the hell Mike McCoy is doing out there from an offensive game planning standpoint, and they load the box every game. So good luck. It doesn't matter if you're the best goddamn running back in the world. You can't run against a loaded box each and every time. And oh, by the way, they were playing the LA Rams last week, who have a pretty damn good football team. So I think when you're looking at that, listen, it's not getting any easier. The Chicago Bears obviously come to town this week. We've seen what they've been able to do against elite quarterbacks. So what's going to happen when they're going after a guy like Sam Bradford? I just think it could be real ugly real fast. That
you kind of just led me right into my next question. Bears fans want to know, how much are the Bears defense going to eat this week? Is it something that they should just be really excited for because they could just tee off on this team?
Listen, I am salivating over the fact that I have the Chicago Bears defense in fantasy football.
Same.
I expect this team to create some turnovers, and I expect this team to take advantage of a very good matchup for them. Listen, I do expect Arizona to play a little bit better, but I can't envision that this is not the game where the defense just continues what we've already seen. And I also look to see Mitch Trubisky make a couple of better throws. I've been disappointed in a couple of his throws in the 20-yard range where he's overthrowing some of his guys. I look at that Taylor Gabriel throw from the other night. I think this is the game where maybe Trubisky gets back on track, and also where Matt Nagy runs the ball. This defense cannot defend the run. Jordan Howard better have 25 to 30 touches, or I am rioting outside waiting for Matt Nagy.
Absolutely. And, the Bears offense, they actually, for the first time in fantasy football, had more than one person maybe go in the first couple rounds. What Bear, it doesn't necessarily have to be a sleeper pick, but what Bear on the offense you think could really have a good performance against this Arizona defense? Is it Jordan Howard? Is he going to get more carries? Do we see more receptions out of Allen Robinson? Do we see Trey Burton rack up some receptions in PPR leagues? What a couple Bears could really eat this week as far as fantasy goes?
It better be Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, and I'm talking right to you, Matt Nagy. This defense, as I said, cannot defend the run. You saw what Todd Gurley did last week, and you saw what a very old Adrian Peterson did a week before that, and Chris Thompson. You saw both of those running backs have unbelievable performances. I'm a big fan of Chris Thompson, and I love Adrian Peterson, but he is an older gentleman, and he looked like vintage AP out there. Mm-hmm. So you better have Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen out there non-stop getting creative and using those guys, and both of those guys, I think this is a really prime matchup for them to really get going.
I'm on board with you. If I'm the Bears, I try to turn this into a 1-hour game. Just run it and keep the clock going and see what you can just pound this team into oblivion. Let's talk about that Cardinals defense a little bit. As of right now, defensive end Marcus Golden has returned to practice, but is still listed as day-to-day just this a little under a year after tearing his ACL. He was the team's 2016 sack leader, and if he returns to the field on Sunday, what could that mean for Mitchell Trubisky? Is there a lot of rust to shake off, or is that an instant threat in the Bears' backfield?
Listen, it's hard to say when you're coming off that type of injury, but what I can tell you is that the nickname Junkyard Dog is when they talk about Marcus Golden. He's beastie. He's a really, really good defensive player. He gets after the quarterback, and it makes Chandler Jones that much better because now he's not getting double teamed because you have Marcus Golden and you have Chandler Jones. I don't think this is the week where you're going to see him go absolutely, through the roof just because we don't even know if he's going to play yet, right? So I think this is, if he does even play, I think he'll be on a limited snap count because they got to make sure that he's, taking it easy coming back from an ACL injury, because I know Marcus and he is a tough guy and he'll play all out 120% right away. So you got to always be hesitant with guys like that because they'll go too hard and they'll end up re-injuring that same aggravated area.
Sure. And before I ask you for your prediction, I got one more fantasy question for you because we want to be an all-encompassing show here at Bufone 55. If they're outside of David Johnson and maybe Larry Fitzgerald, who were obvious picks in the draft this year, some people made some sleepers, whether it was Christian Kirk or anybody else that might be on the Arizona Cardinals. Is there someone on the Cardinals worth playing against the Bears outside of their two main guys?
No. There's not.
All right.
Unfortunately for Cardinal fans, I know you and I talked about it a little bit before we got on the show. I loved Christian Kirk, and
so did I.
I'm still confused as to why he's not being utilized because he is a speedster. He's a great football player. I was really excited to see what he can do. But listen, at this point in time, you're in week 3, and you've seen 2 weeks of meh, and I mean that in that I'm using a nice word to describe what we've seen. So I can't trust anybody on that team other than David Johnson and even Larry. So it's at this point you gotta sit whoever else you drafted. I know a lot of fantasy people have been looking at Ricky Seals-Jones because he's a great super athletic guy. I just don't think this is the week where they break out. Next week he plays against Seattle, and Seattle doesn't do as well against tight ends. So maybe that's the week you look at Ricky Seals-Jones. I haven't seen anything from the Arizona Cardinals offense to make me think I can believe in them from a fantasy perspective.
That's just another reason for me to be irritated with Mike McCoy. Never liked him anyway. But before we let you go, I got to ask you your score prediction for this game. And I kind of already have an idea what you're going to go, but at least give us a score to give us how confident you are in the Bears this week.
Yeah, I think they win 24-10. I think it's a pretty easy game. Listen, I'd like to say they're going to score more. My original thought was maybe like 30-10, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the deal. I just think that this team, this Arizona Cardinals team, cannot continue to play as bad as they have. And if they do, we're talking, NFL history bad if they continue to play as bad as they have. And the whole staff's going to be gone before the year even starts. So I think you have to hope that there's professionals I can speak to. I know these guys well, Patrick Peterson, Larry Fitzgerald, even Sam Bradford, good leaders. You're assuming that they're going to at least show you more than what you've seen, but it could get real ugly real fast. But I'm going to go 24-10. I think that's the final score.
I think our fans like to hear that. And before we get you out of here, you basically own Twitter. You're on everything here. Tell our listeners where they can find you online and what they should be checking out to get your material.
Hey guys, you can check me out. I'm at @the_sports page with an I. Obviously, my very clever Twitter name based off of my real name, Paige Dimakos. You guys can search for me on Instagram as well and subscribe to my podcast, TD Fantasy, so that way you're not waiting on this David Johnson news. You're smarter than everybody else, and you know the stuff going into fantasy football season.
Awesome. Paige, thank you so much for being on. You really gave us an in-depth look at the Cardinals and in the Bears and in fantasy, so I can't thank you enough. We hope to have you on sometime down the road. Thanks again.
Thanks, John.
All right, that's halftime. You know what that means. It's time to get into the fast-paced second half, and for that, I'm going to have to bring the OG on. Aldo, you still awake?
I am still awake. How could I be asleep? You guys, the two of you, Paige and John Buffone, should have an ESPN or Fox Sports show. That was awesome. You guys are going back and forth like ping pong. It was just so well paced, so chock full of information. Everyone in the bar room was saying this is awesome. So congratulations. It's a great interview.
Hey, check is in the mail. Thank you.
All right, so let's remind our audiences about what happens next. It's the 5:55 portion of the show. I will ask you 5 questions about the Chicago Bears, and you will have 55 seconds to respond, and that 55, of course, is in honor of your uncle, Doug Bufone, who played 15 seasons for the Chicago Bears, and he happened to be my boyhood hero. So let's get this. Are you ready for this?
Oh man, I'm so ready for this. Let's go. We're coming off a win. This doesn't happen often. Let's go, Aldo.
How about it? All right, John, the Bears have a 500 record for the first time in almost 4 years. Many Bears fans have predicted they would go 8-8 this year, contrary to most Chicago sports media folks and analysts who have been saying that they are due for another losing record. What are the 2 things that this team must do to stay at 500, and dare I ask, even better? The clock starts now.
Well, just to put that to rest, I said their floor was 9 wins this year, so I'm expecting them to be over 500. But number one, they have to be more consistent on offense. And when I say that, I mean Mitchell Trubisky has to be more consistent. There were a few throws that he missed last week that you have to get out of your quarterback. The offense as a whole needs to pull its weight a little bit more. When you have a defense like the Bears do, you cannot turn the ball over. They also seem to put together a first great drive. I'm thinking that first drive is scripted. I want to see that consistency. I want to see that kind of drive every time. The defense is busting their tail to get you the ball, and then you don't want to send them back out there 2 minutes later because you turn it over or you get a quick 3 and out. That defense gets tired, and that's when people get hurt. We don't want to see that, that's for sure. So more consistency on offense. Number 2, close out games. They were in so many close games last year, and it was the same old thing. You can't come through in the fourth, and I thought we were going to see that down. We saw that last week until Prince Amukamara didn't drop an easy pick 6 and essentially slammed the door on the game. I hope this was a wake-up call on how you close out games, because a bunch of close losses doesn't mean squat in the NFL. Coming close only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades, not the NFC North.
Well put. And you are so right. If Kyle Fuller makes that interception at the end of the Green Bay game, or towards the end of the Green Bay game,
2-0.
2-0. Wouldn't that have been awesome? Oh, my goodness. All right. Speaking of 2, we go on to question number 2. Now, some are saying that Monday night's win was not as sweet as it should have been, and that our offense needs some serious work. I mean, all you have to do is read Chris Armstrong's work at bearsbarroom.com that she wrote minutes after the game. She was very upset, not only at the offense, but some aspects of the defense, too. But let's talk about number 10. What does Mitch have to do to improve to make sure we don't need to rely on our defense so heavily? Number 55, you are on the clock.
Well, he got off his platform a few times, and it looked like he was a little jittery at points in the game, and he was feeling some heat from a phantom pressure that wasn't really there. Let's face it, he's a work in progress. Some people are unfairly setting the bar at Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson or even Sam Darnold. I still feel like this kid has room to grow. You can say that he started all those games last year, but what the hell did he really get in the Dow Loggins offense? Was that really quality experience? He learned how to hand the ball off better. We are so quick to write people off. Remember when everyone thought Alex Smith was a bust? He couldn't figure the game out. He only won 19 games in 5 years. For you math majors out there, that's 3.8 wins. And he averaged only 10 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. His next 7 years, he only threw 8 interceptions one time and hasn't touched double-digit interceptions since, and averaged 19 touchdowns in the last 7 years. I know I'm going off on an Alex Smith tangent here, but I see a lot of Alex Smith and Mitch Trubisky. He's a cerebral guy that happens to progress a little slower, and once he gets comfortable in his system, he's going to be very good. And who better to take him on that journey than the guy who got Alex Smith to the best statistical season of his career? So I guess patience is key here, and I know I'm trying to sell that to Bears fans, which isn't easy, but you got to have a little more patience with your quarterback.
Wow. A Mitch Trubisky, Alex Smith comparison. Isaiah Robles just posted in the chat room that you are bringing it, so I guess he agrees with that comparison. I hope that he's slightly better than Alex Smith, but you're totally right. You know, that is... If he becomes at least Alex Smith, hey, I'll be happy with that, because Alex Smith is capable of taking your team to the Super Bowl if you've got a very good defense.
Absolutely, he is. He's the kind of guy who can win he can win a Super Bowl. He knows how to not lose a game. That's what I think. Bears fans, what else can you ask for in the last 50 years for a guy to not throw you a soul-crushing interception? We're so used to that. We don't want to see that anymore. I'll take an Alex Smith and maybe a little bit higher. I'm okay with it.
I agree. All right, question number 3. Khalil Mack made his second start with the Bears against the Seattle Seahawks, as we know, and Roquan Smith made his first professional start, and Prince Amukamara was a fan favorite after his first career pick 6. One player whose performance may be overshadowed by all this is Danny Trevathan. He had 2 sacks, a forced fumble on Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter. What about this? What is it about this 2018 defense that you are most impressed with? And let me remind you that you have 55 seconds, and the clock starts as soon as you start.
All right, I'm impressed with the lack of weaknesses. When opposing offenses draw up a game plan, there's not a whole lot that they can say, okay, let's attack this. One thing everyone is talking about is sacks. The Bears are leading the league in sacks with 10, which indicates that they're probably a pretty good defense. But do you know who is tied for 3rd in sacks with the league with 8? the Pittsburgh Steelers, who crumbled late in a tie with the Browns and got absolutely throttled by the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2. So while sacks are an awesome stat, remember that the rest of the defense is stepping up too. The linebackers aren't getting torched with the exception of Nick Kwiatkowski a few times in week 1. The secondary is playing well. They aren't blowing any big tackles that allow big plays. Honestly, tackling across the board has impressed me. This team swarms to the ball so well. We saw a lot of great open field tackles Monday night, one by Bryce Callahan sticks in my mind, that really saved some big time yards. So you want to know what impresses me the most about this defense? The fact that they don't have to hide any major blemishes. I'm begging them to stay healthy because I want to see this team play the whole way out. We don't have any Chris Contis on this team, thank God.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, God. Question number 4, and I got to thank Bears Girl for all of these questions, really, but this one, which is so detailed with facts here. The Bears and Cardinals have met each other 90 times, with the Chicago Bears winning 56 games and the Cardinals winning 28 games and tying 6 times. Now, the last time these two teams met in Arizona was on December 23rd, 2012, and the headlines the next day was "Defense keeps the Bears' playoff hopes alive," and 28-13 win as the Cardinals, with the NFL's worst offense. I guess it was the Bears had the worst offense. So, and also a fun fact is that Sam Acho was playing for the Cardinals in that game. So, do you think that history will repeat itself with the Cardinals once again claiming the worst offense title and the Bears, with their defense, winning on Sunday night? You have 55 seconds.
Although I'm trying to find something about this Cardinals offense to be scared of, and I'm seeing nothing. Sam Bradford is going to be a sitting duck back there. The Bears have been playing well against the run, so I don't see any speedsters like Tyler Lockett or Randall Cobb that can blow the top off. Yes, they have Larry Fitzgerald, but he's their best receiver, and he's not going to go vertical very much. I think they're going to tee off on the Cardinals. I don't see how they don't get 4 or 5 sacks and a couple of turnovers. This could be a big opportunity for Roquan Smith, for him to have a coming out party. He's going to get much better with experience, and playing a clunker of an offense like Arizona might go a long way in building up that confidence. Maybe we see Leonard Floyd make a big play or two with his big caveman club, and I think everyone just loves to watch Khalil Mack play. You just assume he's going to disrupt something every play. It's a thing of beauty. It's art in motion. My biggest concern, health. For the love of God, stay healthy. I want to see this defense all year, and I want to see what they can do. Play hard, play angry, dominate the entire game, but please leave in one piece. I don't know if I can stomach seeing some of these big guys not play throughout the entire season, especially if they're making a playoff run.
John, did you see the Bears injury report today?
Yeah, there's one limited.
That was amazing. I'm not sure any NFL team had a report like that.
There were 90 guys in stretchers by week 2 last year. That goes to show you what a freaking training staff can do with a team. There were guys in the morgue last year. They couldn't keep anybody on the field. Look at them now, one limited.
You know what? We've been very critical of Matt Nagy not playing the starters in week 3, but who knows? Only God knows if maybe that plan is going to pay dividends as the season goes on, and this team is going to be healthier than most or all other NFL teams.
Don't tell Mike North that.
I won't tell him or Draft Dr. Phil or the hundreds of thousands of other Bears fans who were crying about the Bears not playing their starters in that preseason week number 3. Okay, we're going to move on to question number 5. And I got to tell you, I had to go back here and do a little research myself on this one because I came up with question number 5 for you. It was October 16th, 2006.
I was a teenager.
Oh, were you? I was. I was a teenager too.
Years before that, yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals coach said this about the Chicago Bears after the good guys beat the Arizona Cardinals in a stunning come-from-behind win in front of a national TV audience. Listen to this.
The Bears are who we thought they were. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Oh, my gosh. I love to hear that. John, who do you think this 2018 version of the Chicago Bears really are? Are they capable of doing what that 06 team did with their outstanding defense and okay offense? John, you're on the clock, and you know what? I'm just going to turn the clock off.
Thank
just
you.
Do it. Go ahead.
Man, I love that Dennis Green clip. God rest his soul. I think the defense is capable of being the 2006 form. I think they have all the tools with even more speed. It is constructed differently with the formation, but the result can be similar or even better. If you look at the offense, let's take a stroll down memory lane to 2006. Let's start at running back. 2006, Thomas Jones and Cedric Benson. 2018, Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen. I love Thomas Jones, but I'll take the current dynamic duo. Wide receiver, Bernard Berrien, Muhsin Muhammad, Rasheed Davis. 2018, Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Taylor Gabriel. Give me 2018 all day. Tight ends, Desmond Clark versus Trey Burton. Both are great. Oh, man, I love Desmond Clark. I'll call that one a push. But that brings us to quarterback. Would you rather have sexy Rexy Grossman, who started 2006 on fire, or a kind of an unproven Mitchell Trubisky? Give me Mitch at this point. So if the defense can truly be what it should be, this offense is equipped to score more than 2006 was. They are equipped to score enough to win games. Make it to a Super Bowl. Let's be real. The NFC is loaded. The NFC North is loaded. They will compete for a playoff spot, and they will be a hard out. Let's be a little realistic on Super Bowl aspirations. But, man, I think this team is really well equipped.
Harp4803 in the chat room says that because I'm moderating, I could make Bufone 55 show an hour long. And Bears Princess says, I wouldn't mind a 1 hour Bufone show. And you know what? I wouldn't mind it either.
We haven't been on for an hour. What are we at?
We are exactly 30 minutes and 57 seconds and counting.
Oh, clockwork, man.
John, fill the next 30 minutes with your prediction.
Listen, too often in the past few years, the Bears they've lost games they're supposed to win. That needs to change this week. You're playing a team that can't put points on the board and could be losing faith in their quarterback and their coaching staff. Go into Arizona, score early, score consistently, and don't let an inferior team hang around. Put this game out of reach in the third quarter, and don't let any fourth quarter BS happen. You want to be taken seriously? Blow out a team that's back on their heels. Go into someone else's house and punch them in the mouth. I think this Bears team is carrying a different attitude from years past. I say the Bears go into Arizona and they come out with a 26-10 win. And before we get out of here, I just want to let you guys know that this episode of Bufone 55 will be on your podcast stream first thing Thursday morning. Make sure you share it with your friends and give us a review on any of the delivery systems that you get podcasts from. We're on all of them: iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. I think Aldo just got us a MySpace page. You name it. All you have to do is search for Bears Barroom Radio Network, and we will pop up. Am I missing anything, Aldo? Why don't you plug the swag shop?
Yeah, don't forget to head over to bearsbarroom.com. That's where you'll find a link to the swag shop that Bears Girl has built for us. You can buy some really cool barroom shirts and hoodies. The Bufone 55 hoodie is a hot seller. Plus, the Barfly shirts are selling really fast. So, also, I want to tell you that I wrote an article about Mitch Trubisky and what he can learn from that red-hot Patrick Mahomes. I didn't say we should have Mahomes instead of Trubisky. I just made some comparisons about what Trubisky can learn from Mahomes. So hopefully you'll take a look at that. Also, we created a new category in the website where we are populating it with all of Draft Dr. Phil's material, his tape rundowns, his rants, and so forth. So you can visit that all at bearsbarroom.com. John, take us to the close.
Oh, well, here's hoping the next time we talk, the Bears are going to be 2-1, eyeing up the Buccaneers. Everybody, go buy a Bufone 55 hoodie. Take a picture of yourself and put it on Twitter. I'm going to retweet that all day. Let's do it. Same time, same place next week. Goodbye, everybody.